know if you agree with this. I think that there are very specific whiskies for different seasons. For me, the winter is all about the deep sherried drams, things that are a little bit Christmas spicy, things that can warm you up on a cold day, things you can sit by the fireplace and sip happily. But the summer and the spring are more for bright, fruity, happy drams. I've said this to people, they think I'm a little bit crazy, but for me it works. For me it makes me happy, and I want to give you 3 drams which I think are perfect for spring and summer. I've gone for a Scotch, a bourbon and a Japanese whiskey, so make sure you watch all the way through to see if there's an option that could be great for you. The first bottle I've gone for is a Scotch, and it is none other than the Deanston 17-year-old 2002 Pino Noir cask finished whiskey. Now, let me tell you, I am obsessed with this whiskey, and most people who come to my house will know this because I tell people to try this all the time. I'm telling you that this is the first option. However, I am going to caveat that, and I am going to say that this can be quite difficult to find. Although you can find it in the UK and in the US too, it just might be a little bit more expensive. So I am going to say that for option number 1, we're going with any whiskey that is finished in a Pinot Noir cask. Not just specifically this one. Pinot Noir is a grape that is mainly grown in Germany, France. It's grown in Australia, New Zealand, quite a few places. It's an amazing grape and it makes an amazing wine. And this is finished in Pinot Noir casks, which means the flavors of that gorgeous wine are going to be imparted into the whiskey to create an explosion of fruity, glorious, summery flavors. The main flavor profiles in Pinot Noir are going to be strawberries, raspberries, cherries, all those kind of summery forest fruits. The nose on this whiskey definitely translates from that. This is bright, this smells zingy. I don't even know if that is a proper word, but in this case it just fits right. It's just a burst of fresh, of summer, of happy, and I'm here for it. Sluncher. I can just imagine sitting outside on a sunny day, drinking something so fresh, so vibrant, so fruity. This has great vanilla, lovely tannins from that wine cask that I can feel at the back of my throat. It's fantastic whiskey. It's one of my all-time favourites for good reason. As I said, option 1 is more generic for all Pinot Noir cask finished whiskies. I know Tamnavulin do one, Tom & Tal have one, Westwood have one, which is obviously an American whiskey. So you can find whiskies finished in Pinot Noir cask, and if I may, I highly recommend that you do. The second whiskey I'm going to be recommending is in fact a bourbon, and it's this one. It's Legend. It says on it, 2 true legends, 1 truly unique bourbon, and 2 true legends they absolutely were. This is the brainchild of Jim Beam's master distiller Fred Noe, as well as the chief blender for Suntory, Shinji Fukuya. This originally aged in charred white oak casks. Then some of the whiskey was finished in California red wine casks, some of the whiskey was finished in sherry casks, and then they were blended together to create this beauty. Gotta pull myself to try and show you. This is really nice and I'd say nutty on the nose. It's got a very creamy aroma, some great vanilla, definitely that bourbon sweetness, some brown sugar, you know the vibe. Let's try it. This is also really nice and fresh, just like the Deanston that I tried. But this is slightly different in a way that it is a little bit more creamy, a little bit more rich. There's definitely like some sort of stewed fruit notes on here. It's a great dram. Again, it is light. Yeah, as I said, it's more oily than the Deanston and it's a little bit more rich, I'd say. The fruit is more orchard fruit rather than strawberries and cherries and all those kind of foresty red summer fruits. That being said, there is certainly citrus on here. The finish has like a little tinge of licorice actually. It's a really pleasant whiskey, nice and light, but great if you don't want something almost too fresh. This is just nice and mellow and sweet and just good to sip all around. This bottle is around $50, I think, so you know, pretty good price point for a really great whiskey. The third and final whiskey I'm going to talk about is actually a Japanese whiskey. This one is the Chitter. The Chitter is Suntory's grain distillery, and this was their flagship release. It has a screw top rather than a cork, which is interesting, but I don't mind. I have been quite a long time fan of this. This is actually a grain whiskey, a single grain whiskey, which means it has more of sort of a cereally note on the nose for sure. Like the other two whiskies I spoke about, this has definitely got a good fresh vibe to it. It's definitely not like too sweet or rich or anything. It's very nice and light, easy breezy on the nose. Let's give the palate a try. Cheers. Japanese whiskey tends to be pretty similar to Scotch in style, and this definitely is. Because this is a grain whiskey, like I said, we're getting those sort of cereal notes, almost kind of bready, almost like toast, a little note of toast, which to me is a good thing. I'm almost getting like a herbaceous note. It's kind of minty. You kind of get sort of rosemary and thyme. It's not that it's savoury, it just has a savoury note on it. It's a really pleasant dram, very easy to sip. The finish is not too long, it doesn't linger too long, but I kind of like that in a more summery whiskey. I don't need anything that's too heavy that's just gonna hang around on my tongue for too long, if you know what I mean. It has a fruitiness, it has a honey note running through it. All in all, very pleasant, very drinkable. I highly recommend. If there are other summery whiskies that you would particularly recommend, please let me know. I'm always on the lookout for new whiskies that I can enjoy when it's bright and fresh outside, so let me know. And if you are a whiskey fan, make sure you subscribe to Whiskey Raiders, because we've got loads of content coming out. Scotch, bourbon, Irish, Japanese, anything you can think of whiskey, we've got it. So make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!